Hey everyone, welcome to Massachusetts Sports Central. This is our NFL Power Rankings after Week 4 of the season. Just to remind everyone, what these rankings are. This list represents how likely we think each team is to win Super Bowl 52. It is not an ordered list of the best teams necessarily. It also isn't a random list based on who beat who last week. So basically, this list is less reactionary than many of these types of power rankings you'll see. That being said, as we get more into the season, the records will line up much better. And this week, the 0-4 teams are bringing up the rear. However, plenty of 2-2 teams are still ahead of some 3-1 teams since they're just better and, given the circumstances, still might have a better chance in the long run. All right, on to the rankings. Number 32, the Cleveland Browns, moving down one slot from last week. The Browns and the Bengals had the winless matchup last week, the only two winless teams playing. Said the loser would be here. The Browns lost, even though I had picked them, so that's why they were ahead of the Bengals going into the game for me. They got killed, so definitely think I overestimated the kind of strides that they made coming into the season, and they are likely to be here or only one or two slots above this for quite a while. All right, number 31, moving down one slot, the Los Angeles Chargers. They still could argue that they're the best or at least the second best 0-4 team. That's, damning with faint praise. But their circumstances make them in definitely the worst situation. So they're in the same division as the 4-0 Chiefs and the 3-1 Broncos and the 2-2 Raiders. So they're minimally 2 games out of third place, which is where you have to be to have any chance of making the playoffs. The first and second place teams, they also have head-to-head losses against, so their season is pretty close to being done. All right, number 30, the New York Football Giants, moving down 2 slots to number 30. Similar to the Chargers, they're the other quote unquote best 0-4 team out there. Their division situation isn't quite as dire. They're still 2 games out of third. But both the second and third place team are 2-2, and the first place team is only 3-1. So the division's a little more open, but still they are pretty close to having their season over as well. Number 29, the San Francisco 49ers. This is where they were last week as well, the last 0-4 team. They are definitely in the best situation of an 0-4 team. The Rams are 3-1, and both the other teams are 2-2, but I don't think the Rams are quite as good as their record, though they were a lot better than I thought. The Cardinals might actually be worse than their record, so there's a little more possibility for them, but I also think that they're a terrible team, so I don't think that they're going to make much of a move. Number 28, the Indianapolis Colts, moving down 3 slots. They got killed by the Seahawks. Now, I thought Seahawks were actually my NFC Super Bowl pick, so I like them coming into the year. I do think that they're finding themselves to some extent now. So, this isn't too surprising. Actually, in my game picks, I said that this could be a bloodbath, and it was, even to a worse score than the pretty pessimistic one I had predicted. They also are playing the 49ers this week, so this is a chance for the 49ers to get a win, and certainly if they do, they'll jump over the Colts for next week. All right, number 27, one of the big drops this week is the Miami Dolphins, falling 10 slots. I'm sorry, I gave them a little bit of the benefit of the doubt after losing badly to the Jets, but then just coming out and getting destroyed, shut out by the Saints. Now, maybe the Saints' defense isn't as bad as everybody thought it was going to be after the first couple of games and how they've performed the last several seasons, but still, even if they are better, you should not be getting shut out by the Saints after almost getting shut out by the Jets. Now, the Jets, the strength of their team is their defense, but still. At this point, I am in the Dolphins stink unless they can show me something. I can't believe how bad that they have been. Maybe they could turn it around, but they've been terrible so far. All right, number 26, the Cincinnati Bengals, moving up 6 slots. This has as much to do with how badly the teams behind them played versus how well they did. Yes, they killed the Browns, but it was the Browns. The Browns are now 0-4. The Bengals are 1-3. I don't think that they are going to be making much noise the rest of the year, but they might not be as bad as they looked the first couple of games. time will tell. Number 25, the Chicago Bears moving up one. Even though they lost and they lost badly, again, this is sort of the teams behind them not stepping up, being worse, losing and being worse and falling further than they could realistically fall. Mitch Trubisky is going to start playing. We'll see if he is more like, say, how Deshaun Watson has been so far, giving the Texans a little bit of life, or if it's going to be more like Jared Goff last year, where he just gets killed all year long. So, we'll see how that turns out. Glennon was not getting it done, so, I'm not against the move, but I'm not necessarily expecting that to help the Bears, rocket up the standings. Number 24, the Arizona Cardinals. This is where they were last week. They won, barely, beating the 49ers in overtime. So right now the Cardinals are 2-2, but both of their wins are over bad teams in overtime. So they could easily be 0-4 with losses, with multiple division losses and losing to bad teams. They're not. They're 2-2, so they're ahead of a lot of these other teams, but they could definitely fall quickly in the standings if things keep going like that. All right, number 23, the New York Jets moving up 4 slots. Look, the Jets are still not going to be competitive for most of the year. However, I got to give them all the props in the world. Again, coming out 2-game winning streak, they killed Miami, and then, they were actually dominating Jacksonville for the most part. They had that, the Jags got lucky, got that fumble recovery score that was able to force overtime, but the Jets didn't back down. They went and they finished them off. So, kudos to them. 2-game winning streak. And this week they're playing the Browns, so they could conceivably have a 3-game winning streak. Nobody was predicting that coming into the year. I'm still going over my game picks. I'm not sure who I'm going to pick. But the way the Jets have been playing recently and the way the Browns have been playing recently, I'm probably going to lean towards the Jets. Also, I've as much as people weren't high on Cleveland per se, I think if you said coming into this game one team was 0-4 and the other one was 2-2, most people would have thought it was Cleveland. Anyway, so, props to them. I don't think they're going to keep it up all year, but like I said, they have 2 wins, which is more than a lot of people thought, and they have a very good shot at 3 this week. Number 22, the Baltimore Ravens. This is where they were last week. They lost to the Steelers after getting exposed by the Jags the week before. So 2-0 is now 2-2, but they are in a terrible division, so they're still in second place. So they're far from dead. We'll see how things go. If the Steelers can pull away, if the Bengals can right themselves and be competitive, if the Ravens just kind of exchange wins and losses all year and are just a 500 team, it's hard to say. Defense looked solid before the last couple of weeks. Now, not so much. I think I said defense. That's what I meant if I didn't. Offense has looked terrible pretty much throughout, and I don't expect much to change there. All right, next, number 21. The Jacksonville Jaguars moving down 2 slots. They lost to the Jets. The Jets have been better than expected. Still the Jets, though. They've been totally inconsistent. Great game, bad game, great game, bad game. It's hard to figure this team out. Until they get consistent, it's going to be hard to really get excited about them. Number 20, the New Orleans Saints moving down 2 slots. This again has to do with more with the teams ahead of them doing good as opposed to them moving back, given that they won 20-0. Even though it's the now I think one of the worst teams in the league, Dolphins, but still they won. And they shut a team out with what's supposed to be one of the worst defenses in the league. So you got to give them props. They could certainly move back up if some of the teams that are doing well falter again. Number 19, the Carolina Panthers moving up 4 spots. Yes, they're 3-1, and yes, they beat the Patriots. They are tied for their division lead and tied for the best record in the NFC. So I probably have them a little too low right now, and I will be forced to move them up if they keep winning because that's all that really matters. I still just think it's mostly smoke and mirrors. I said they barely beat the Bills, and they couldn't score anything on them. Their offense has struggled until this week against the Patriots. Patriots have the worst defense in the league, one of the worst defenses in history right now. Can they fix that? Can they not? We're going to talk about that a little bit later. Seeing the chinks in that Patriots armor. But it's so. Like I said, if they win next week, I'm going to be forced to move them up significantly. I just don't believe in this team. That's just the long and the short of it. All right, number 18, the Buffalo Bills, moving up 2 slots. Again, this is a team I was not expecting to be that good. They are 3-1. They are definitively in first place in their division, and 1 game out of the best record in the conference. They beat Denver last week, but they beat them at home. Denver's a different team on the road, so while it's still, I'm not going to take anything away from that. It's not like they beat them in Mile High, in which case I probably would have moved them up more. They beat the Falcons. The Falcons have, they were dominant against Green Bay, but they actually should have struggled in all their other games. Their offense has not been nearly as good this year. I still have the Falcons pretty high, and I think that they have the potential to turn things around, but they definitely are not as dominant as they have been. So, again, not knocking what the Bills did, but again, I need 1 or 2 more games to really get convinced that they are legit versus just a team that starts hot and then falters the rest of the way. All right, number 17, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, moving down 2 slots. They won, but they barely beat the winless Giants after getting out to a big lead to start, so that was less impressive. Overall, I think this is a good team, but definitely has some problems. Still have kicking issues, even though Folk hit the game winner. He missed a couple other kicks, so that's one of the things that really torpedoed their season last year. So, you don't like to see that kind of stuff continue, especially since it's a different guy. It's not even like they have the same kicker. So, again, this move has as much to do with like what some of the teams around them did, needing to move them down because other teams moved up. All right, number 16, the Minnesota Vikings, moving down 4 slots. This move has as much, if not more, to do with the fact that they lost Dalvin Cook, who was having a really nice season for the year, and still not knowing what's happening with Bradford. Keenum is now playing more kind of like what I would expect. So he was really bad his first game, worse than you should really expect, and was way better than you should have expected the next one. This game, it was like he didn't really hurt the team, but he didn't really do anything to elevate them. So if they have that, but now they have a weaker running game, I don't think this isn't a terrible team, but it's not. It's until they get Bradford back, I have a hard time seeing them being much more than a 500 team until then. So that's that. All right, number 15, the Dallas Cowboys, moving down 5 slots. So they got killed by Denver earlier this year. They got and then they lost to the Rams this week. Just seeing some kinks in their armor too. The line hasn't been quite as good. Elliott hasn't been quite as good. Dak hasn't been quite as good. Defense has been serviceable but not good. And this still seems to be a little bit up in the air on what's going on with Zeke's suspension, with some new court hearings and such that haven't, they haven't given the ruling yet on that. So, he could still potentially miss games this year. I am working on the assumption that's not going to happen, but if he does, especially given that they're struggling with him, you won't be too optimistic on what's going on then. All right, number 14, the Los Angeles Rams, up 7 points from last week. All right, I am starting to get sold on them now. Goff has been really good, and it's been enough games now that it doesn't seem like it's just a fluky good game. Gurley has definitely found his rookie season form again and is one of the best backs in the league. They still have some pretty good players on defense. Some of the other offensive weapons have been showing themselves to be pretty good. The line is actually giving Goff a decent amount of time. Wouldn't necessarily say they're one of the best lines in the league, but they're certainly not bad. I'm still a little leery of them because I didn't think they were gonna. I thought they were gonna be terrible. Like not just not good. I thought they were gonna be terrible this season. No lies. Got to man up and own up to my predictions. I think I had them at like 2-14, something like pretty bad. So obviously I was way off with that. But I still need a little more convincing before I'm going to say that they're a top 10 type team. All right, number 13, the Oakland Raiders falling down 5 slots. They lost again. They looked terrible in Washington. Again, I gave them a little bit of a benefit of the doubt there. But then they lost again in Denver, which, again, not a crime. Like, that's a tough place to play. It's a division game. The Broncos are a little bit better than I think that I expected them to be coming into the season. And then Carr got hurt. So all those things, add up. But the Carr injury, especially because it seems like he's probably going to miss at least 2 games, maybe as many as 6. If he misses 6 games, the season's over for these guys. If he misses 2, it's not the end of the world. But if they lose both of them, they have quite an uphill battle to dig themselves out of. But still possible. And obviously, if they could split or somehow win both of them, things will change. But I definitely move them down even more based on potential than anything else. Like I said, once I hear more about Carr, could move them even more. All right, number 12, the Washington Redskins. They lost this week, and if you look at the final score, it looks like it wasn't all that close. But KC got a touchdown on the very last play of the game when the Skins were into the lateral it to everybody. They fumbled. Houston picked it up, ran it in for a touchdown. Not taking anything away from the KC defense, because that's what you need to do is make a stop there. And there's no reason the man should not take an easy defensive touchdown if presents it to him. But the box score makes that game look not quite as close as it actually was. But it was still a loss. But they still also destroyed Oakland last week when everybody was still healthy. So their only other loss was reasonably competitive game against the Eagles as well, who again we haven't talked about the two teams they've lost to about yet. So I picked the Skins to be last, but not like they were going to be a quote unquote competitive last place team compared to a lot of them. So I'm not shocked by how well they've been playing. But we'll see if they can keep it up. They are having their bye this week, so that helps because Norman got hurt. So that's at least one extra game that he'll get to rest up, and some of their other guys can rest up and stuff. All right, number 11, the Denver Broncos up 2 slots. So they beat the Raiders, though the Raiders seem to be a little bit on a decline at the moment. It was a home game. I think that it's going to be hard to pick against them, against anybody but like the top team. So like maybe KC, maybe New England. But other than that, like they are just a different team at home, and that team is really good. So right now they're 3-1. They're definitely in playoff position. They started 4-0 last year, so don't get too seduced by things. But they are certainly not a bad team, and we'll see if they can keep it up. Number 10, the Tennessee Titans falling 5 slots. So the Texans came out and made a statement saying, don't think that this is your division now. We're the 2-time defending champs. So they got the Titans got just whooped, absolutely whooped last week. I don't know what happened to that defense. The offense actually scored a few points. It was just that they got rolled so bad that the margin of victory was tremendous. Mariota also got hurt. It seems iffy on exactly what's going to happen at the moment. He's not out for the game this week. If he plays and doesn't miss any time, then I won't be too concerned about it. It might be a little bit of a nagging thing. You never know. If he misses one game, he misses one game. It's not the end of the world. If he misses more than one game, then again, this is their chances go down dramatically just because their playoff chances will go down quite a bit as well, especially if the Texans can start winning some games. Speaking of the Texans, they're next at number 9, up 7 slots. Obviously, the fact that they killed the Titans, who had been playing very well, was a statement. Obviously, they improved their record, which helped. They played very well against New England the week before. The offense, all of a sudden, just like almost 90 points, something like 90 points in 2 weeks. Where that was their, that was their weakness. So I think that defense is still really good and is going to settle down. I don't think the offense is obviously as good as it's shown the past couple of weeks. But I think Watson is for real, and he's going to be able to put up, at least make them a respectable offense throughout the rest of the year. And with that defense, that will keep them very competitive. Excuse me. Number 8, we have the Seattle Seahawks. I can repeat almost the exact same stuff there. So the Seahawks seem to, so they're moving up 3 slots after finding their offense and the defense coming back as well. Excuse me. Actually, very similar to the Texans last week. Even though they lost, the offense finally found itself, and the defense played fairly poorly against the Patriots. The Texans' offense found itself, but the defense gave up too many points. This week, the offense still played phenomenally, and the defense was back to normal, so they blew out the Colts. Now, it was the Colts, but still, it was a blowout victory. They got a ton of points, and the defense looked sharp. So, I think the typical Seattle slow start plus the offense having a particularly slow start seems to be working itself out, and the defense is once again dominant. So with that kind of dominant defense, if they only have to have a competent offense to be very competitive all the way around, and again, also similar to the Texans, a mediocre division makes it a lot easier. So you don't have to be great to win either the AFC South or the NFC West. All right, number 7, the Detroit Lions moving up 2 slots. Nice win over the Vikings. They're 3-1. They usually could be 4-0 if they had gotten that one last play against the Falcons. So they seem pretty legit. Stafford's an underrated quarterback for the most part, and the defense has been playing really well. I believe they lead the league in turnover ratio. Let's see if they can keep that up. But this is a decent team, and I had them in 3rd coming into the season, but I basically had I had them as 9 and 7. I only had them 1 game behind the Vikings and 2 games behind the Packers. So it wasn't I thought that they were going to be bad. I thought it was going to be a close competitive division. I just happened to have them as 3rd. Number 6, one of the teams I said I had them behind, the Green Bay Packers, moving up 1. Killed the Bears, but it was the Bears, so I'm not going to read too much into that. They still have a lot of injuries, but they still have Aaron Rodgers, one of the better QBs that we've seen play in the past decade. The defense is hard to read. Some weeks it looks better than others. They are missing some guys there too, so I don't think Green Bay is an amazing team, but they're certainly a very strong team, and they should be competitive throughout the season. So, we'll see how it turns out, but that's where they are right now. Number 5, the Atlanta Falcons falling 2 slots. So they lost to the Bills. Bills are probably better than I thought they were going to be, but they're still not a great team. They lost at home, which was bad. They're just not scoring enough points, and they have way more turnovers. Than they were having last year. So it seems like even though the offense is still good, it does look like at this point that it's taken a step back. The defense, I think, is actually better than it was last year, especially at this point of the season. So it has kind of evened out to some extent, but the defense will have to keep it up if the offense is going to be scoring, 6-7 points less a game than it was last year. Number 4, the Philadelphia Eagles up 2 slots. I'm looking at this, and it doesn't quite seem right to me, but they've been playing pretty well, even though they barely beat the Chargers this week. I don't know. It's just parity is really rearing its ugly head this year. And I'm looking at this, it's I probably could have had them 6 or 7 slots lower than this, but this is where I have them. But overall, they've been pretty good, and they are first place team in the East, and tied for the best record in the conference. So. It's not like it's undeserved. Number 3, finally falling, the New England Patriots, down 2 slots. That defense is horrendous. I don't know what is going on there. I was of the, okay, well, Patricia and Belichick will work out the kinks. They have a couple of new key guys. They'll make it work. They'll figure it out. With the injuries that they've had and with some players like regressing, so they lost Ninkovich to retirement. They lost Rivers with that ACL. He was a rookie, but he was supposed to be, it was a guy they were supposed to have in there. Ely not working out and then getting released, and FYI playing pretty well with the Jets. Hightower missing some time. All this stuff is adding up. Branch just not playing nearly as well as he has the past couple of seasons. These things are all taking their toll. And then Gilmore definitely underachieving so far in the secondary. It's just a whole lot of things. McKellen on IR. It's just guy after guy after guy, and the backups just are not deep enough. This is something that's usually not the biggest problem for the Patriots. They usually have more depth than this, but the thing is that the top end guys were probably a little bit lesser than some other years, and then the backups for them are even lesser than that. And just I don't know. Offense is still awesome. But I'm starting to worry that this could be a little bit like looking at the Saints the past several years, where you're going to have every game is going to be 35-31. You win half, you lose half. That's how it looks like it might be stacking up if they can't figure out something on the defense. Now, Patricia, I think, is a very good defensive coordinator, and obviously Belichick is one of the greatest defensive minds of his generation. So, if there's a coaching solution, I have confidence they can find it. I'm just not sure there's a coaching solution to make up for some of the weaknesses in personnel. And at this point of the season, it might be hard to get that kind of personnel that they need to fix things. We shall see. But if they keep losing and the defense doesn't get better, they're definitely going to start falling farther in the rankings. All right, number 2, moving up 2 slots, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Totally unenthusiastic about this move. They won pretty convincingly, but I don't think the Ravens are very good. They had lost to the Bears. They let the Browns, who are terrible, be pretty competitive with them. I'm not super high on this team. It's just I don't know who else I'm going to put there. So at this point, I can see there's probably going to be a lot of jumbling in the top 10 through the next several weeks, unless a couple of teams start to really show that they're dominating. One team that has been showing that overall that they are dominating is our number 1 team, the Kansas City Chiefs, up 1 slot from last time. The only 4-0 team. They have beaten pretty good teams along the way to get there. Not all the games have been blowouts. Like I said, the game against the Redskins this week, even though it was a 9-point win, it was 3 points until very late in the game. So they certainly do you ding them because they didn't blow the team out, or it was much closer than the score looked, or do you give them a tip of the hat because it's hey, it was a hard fought game. They were actually down a lot early, and they came back, they tied it, and they eventually took the lead, and they were able to hold on to it. I'm going to go with the latter, especially because they are the record-wise the best team in the league right now. So if they win again, they're not going to be moving anywhere. If they lose, and then some bunch of the other teams right below them win, God only knows where we're going to be next week. So there you have it. This is this week's power rankings. Crazy couple of weeks in the NFL. A lot of upsets, a lot of parity, which is what the league wants overall. So good for them. All right. Thanks for watching, and please like, comment, and share the videos, and subscribe to our channel. You can also follow us on other social media. Facebook and Twitter are both @MA Sports Central. Thanks, and we will see you soon.